the more advanced, up-to-date, cutting-edge, you must know it so you can do it approach to healing is actually less is more. Fix the foundation first, get into the prioritization, batting order, sequencing conversation, and over time and through layers and phases, watch your child finally get unstuck and heal at a level and a pace and with sustainability, kind of the holding ability of these results like you've never seen before.
Welcome to the Experience Miracles podcast, where we help parents find hope, answers, and drug-free help to overcome your child's chronic health challenges. I'm your host, Dr. Tony Ebel, and I'll be sharing my experiences as both a dad and a doctor on every episode. I can take the latest science and neurology of healing and break it down in the most simple and relatable way possible. We'll take on the toughest topics and answer your biggest questions through interviews with other amazing parents and leading experts, leaving you with practical action steps that you can take to help your child heal and thrive. It's time to expect and experience miracles. Let's get started.
Today, millions of parents are not only struggling trying to figure out how to get their chronically sick, developmentally delayed, maybe autism spectrum, ADHD, anxiety child better, but they're struggling themselves to just keep up with the schedule. They're running from one appointment to the next, PT on Mondays and Wednesdays, occupational therapy and ABA Tuesdays and Thursdays, speech therapy squeezed in on Fridays, then all the at-home primitive reflex integrative exercises, lasers maybe you were talked into buying, and even things like 1,000 nutritional supplements it seems like you try and get your child to choke down with dinner, all while trying to manage a strict restrictive diet and administer other homeopathic, herbal, whatever it could be remedies. The conversation today that I get to have with parents again and again is we don't know which way to turn next, and we don't feel like we can keep up with all this. And most importantly, we don't feel like it's working. We don't feel like it's actually creating the breakthrough, the results, and the changes we want. I want you to know one thing out of the gates with this one. You are absolutely not alone. Way too many of us are struggling with our kids' health, and way too many of us are being told to do way too many things all at once. And again, it's not working. You're definitely not alone. You're definitely not missing anything, and you're not failing your child. The truth is, you might be doing too much. And that's the most common parent presentation ever, because all you want to do is get all these challenges gone yesterday. So our default setting as a parent is exactly like our default setting as a provider. That's kind of what a lot of us are taught, is the more we can learn, the more certifications, the more things we can add to our clinic. That's the name of the game today. Functional, integrative. Look at how many things we offer here. Look at how many things are in this supplement. Look at how many things are on this website. Look at how many things are in this Facebook group. And if you just do all of them perfectly every single day, your child will heal. But the quest, the journey, the path to help heal your child and get back on track developmentally, it's honestly the one that is the easiest to fall into, of constantly adding more therapies, more protocols, more supplements, without realizing this hidden in plain sight secret that their nervous system may already be or beyond capacity. When the brain and the body are stuck in this constant state of stress, we call it sympathetic overload, vagus nerve dysfunction, subluxation, dysautonomia. Dysregulation is a word you may have heard of. Awesomely, thankfully, that conversation is getting out there more today. What that means is that even well-intentioned interventions can become overstimulating, dysregulating further, and exhausting. And so in a lot of cases, what happens is nothing. Your child stays stuck. They stayed plateaued. But in other cases, way more than honestly you probably think, they actually regress and get worse. That's why so many families we work with report that despite feeling like they're doing everything right, their child is still stuck, plateaued, or getting worse. And it's not because they haven't found the perfect protocol or the right combination of therapies. It's often because the healing doesn't come from piling on more. It comes from repairing and rebuilding and fixing the foundation first. And oftentimes the most powerful next step isn't another supplement, isn't another treatment or session or therapy, but rather taking a step back, calming the chaos, and working to repair, regulate, and restore the nervous system first. We have found that on average, a child with autism spectrum disorder is enrolled in 3 to 5 different therapies that are done each and every week, takes between 5 and 20 various supplements, and their parents report having tried, on average, 3 to 5 different restrictive diet changes to help them heal and recover. Truth be told, this is just another version that affects the nervous system in the same way of a concept that we talk about all the time here on this platform called the total load theory. When you combine all these therapies, ABA, speech, OT, PT, special ed, all the supplements, detox kits, binders, chelators, and strict diets, many level 3 autism families and other chronically ill kiddos are managing 15 to 30 plus separate daily to-dos, which can easily become overwhelming and sometimes counterproductive, especially if the underlying nervous system dysregulation isn't addressed first. I know already in the introduction of this one, we're being repetitive and a broken record. That's because this is the message that needs to cut through the noise, a lot of it really good and really helpful, and help us really truly lay that foundation and then prioritize and put the batting order together. And I'll tell you this, not exactly the conversation we're having on this one, but it's a ride along, perfectly parallel and important one through everything we just talked about. And then we're going to break down the science of what it actually does. And we're going to get into the action steps of how to get out of this healing interventions overload situation and reality that so many families of chronically ill kids find themselves in. It's not just the child that gets stuck in that. It's the parents, it's the siblings, it's the whole family. So another conversation that fits perfectly square within this one is something called co-regulation. For a child's nervous system to heal as fast and as full and as complete and as to be able to hold on to awesome, helpful nervous system regulating interventions, there's got to be nervous system regulation throughout the household. What really holds a lot of our kiddos back is this happening, this overload, overwhelm happening to them and happening to us as well. I'll move on here in a second, but you could actually even talk about this with as providers. Does it look like your provider is overwhelmed, overloaded, and doesn't know what to do other than just, let's try this too? If your provider isn't the one having this foundational sequencing conversation with you and really leading the charge, that so often the most impactful healing comes with the concept not of more is more, but less is more. Here's where we start, and here's what's next. If your provider, your practitioner, I don't care their initials, I don't care their specialty, if they're not leading the way into this conversation, they might be part of the problem per se, more than they're part of the solution. And so this is a great one here to share, not just with other families who you feel like, oh my gosh, they look overloaded, they look overwhelmed, they look like they're stuck, plateaued, regressing, and doing all the things at once too. But this is a really important conversation that us as providers, we're not taught any of this. We're taught to do the same things you guys are taught to do, which is learn more, do more, pile it onto these kids. They're chronically sick. What we know of autism is a perfect example. We know that autism is a multifaceted, there's multiple root causes. We call it the perfect storm, the total load. There's multiple things that cause it. There's multiple systems that are disconnected, dysregulated, and dysfunctional. So we've got to address it all at once. That's the surface level understanding of helping your child heal. The more advanced, up-to-date, cutting edge, you must know it so you can do it approach to healing is actually less is more. Fix the foundation first, get into the prioritization, batting order, sequencing conversation, and over time and through layers and phases, watch your child finally get unstuck and heal at a level and a pace and with sustainability, kind of the holding ability of these results like you've never seen before. Let's get into the science of this healing interventions overload a little bit further. Okay, so here's the core premise of this conversation. It's very scientific, mixed perfectly with just common sense observation. If you're a parent living this life, you already know what we're talking about is true. If you're a provider really paying attention, you already know that this is true. It's not that any of these things that typically make the list or show up on our intake paperwork that our new patients are doing all these things all at once. I can look at each of them and say, it's a really great intervention. That's a really great supplement. That's a really great approach to healing. I can look at the child's case history and say, makes sense why it'd be in the mix. I can look at a child's GI map. I could look at what we know about the neuroscience behind these things, and I could say, makes sense. But does it make sense in the moment, all mixed together? Because what we know about interventions is they can have, and I don't love this analogy, but it fits here, there's side effects to doing too many things all at once. And perhaps the most clear side effect is it's just going to cancel each other out rather than building synergistically toward improvement. Think of your child's nervous system like a computer that when it's subluxated, when it's dysregulated, it has limited processing power. So it's not operating. It's not a brand new MacBook. It's a hand-me-down third generation Lenovo that got dropped out of the back of the truck, run over, and had some matcha latte spilled on it once when your other kid used it in college. And then it has too many tabs, too many softwares, video streaming, too many programs all running simultaneously. That computer is on the fritz. That computer's gonna freeze up. That computer's gonna crash. Freezing up, plateau. Crashing, regressing. Seizures getting worse, sleep getting worse, behavior getting worse. You can also think of your child's nervous system like a circuit board. I always make the joke when we have this healing interventions overload because it's so true. And I think I'm recording this kind of summertime in my life right now. So winter, fall, it's gorgeous first. And then fall becoming. I have the coldest chiropractic assistant staff in the world. Now, not cold in their demeanor. They are the most loving, caring, warm greeting. If you're a patient of ours, you're like, well, that's not true, Dr. Tony, and that's not nice. No, I mean like temperature cold. Jen, I love you, everybody, our crew, but they're literally like a walking ice bath. We can't warm these ladies up no matter how much we try. Now, the challenge with this is, you can kind of paint this picture with me, they awesomely are kind of hanging in one spot. They're sitting up front. There's not a lot of movement necessarily to what they do. They're managing the phones, the computers, greeting patients, doing all that sort of stuff. And so they're not moving to generate heat. We, on the other hand, pediatric chiropractors, adjusting, sensory perfect storm kiddos, and stressed out moms and dads, we're on the move, y'all. Adjusting is pretty physical, right? It's kind of, you're moving, you're grooving. So we get hot, they get cold. So what happens in winter, every single winter on repeat, the first day it gets really cold and they just can't take it. They go back to our storage closet. They grab about 7. I actually think there's like 8 to 10 space heaters now logged into the storage closet at PwC. And they plug every single one of them into one power strip, which is plugged into one outlet, which goes to one fuse, one circuit. And it blows, and it shuts the whole office down every October, every November. We'll be back there adjusting or working with a new patient, and I just think, oh, that's a sign winter is here. They blew the circuit again because all good ideas. Space heaters are all good, gonna keep all the different team members warm, but it blows the fuse and away we go. That's why kids with subluxation and nervous system dysregulation often start to struggle with sleep issues, more meltdowns, more tics, more seizures, more sensory overload, the more we add to the plate and do too many therapies at once. Because that's the nervous system's natural response to being overwhelmed. My last analogy here is it's too much of a good thing. We've all heard that before, and it's true neuroscientifically. Okay, so why do good therapies go bad? The next scientific concept I really want to break down and apply to this healing interventions overload conversation is what we call the energy theft hierarchy. When your child's nervous system is stuck in sympathetic dominance, they are living 24/7, 365 in fight or flight. You kind of know this when you look to see them fall asleep. They struggle to stay asleep, to struggle to slow down and stop moving and stimming. They can't. To slow down, make eye contact, make connection, make a good decision, calm their behavior, not get overwhelmed. They can't. Literally, digestion, eat food and move it through. Because when you're in fight or flight, the first area of the body, the first system of the body that the nervous system steals energy from, so that's that energy theft conversation, is actually the gut. The very first thing that will happen when a child is dysregulated, subluxated, and sympathetic dominant is the GI system will slow down. It'll get slowed down, sluggish, and often stopped altogether. The motility, the absorption, the assimilation, and the elimination therefore becomes a mess. Now, this is when bloating, gas, distension, constipation, these issues start to show up. And rightfully so, but incompletely so, when we see gut issues, tummy problems, stomach issues, we all innately think, what did they eat? Oh, we got foods, there's intolerances, there's food allergies, there's gluten, there's casein, we got to get out of the way. Oh, what are they missing? Here's their enzymes, here's their probiotics, here's their gut supplements. We blame gut issues on nutrition alone when foundationally and predominantly they're neurological, not nutritional. We call this neurogenic constipation or neurogenic digestive issues, and it comes from sympathetic dominance and the energy theft hierarchy. The second system is the respiratory and immune system. What will happen is your child will start to have a rapid heart rate. They won't breathe into their diaphragm. They breathe through their shoulders. They're wound up all the time. That kicks in more anxiety. That kicks in more sympathetic dominance. Same with gut issues. I forgot to say that, but when the gut gets restricted, there's a gut-brain connection. So it's a perfect storm. It's a vicious feedback loop, but it started with nervous system stress, and then it ends up with nervous system stress, and then it kicks out more nervous system stress. Same with the immune system, neuroinflammation, and respiratory challenges. The next system that energy is stolen from, and we really see issues that pretty much everybody else, PTs, OTs, speech, they know all about this, but sometimes if they can't, because they can't necessarily adjust and address foundational subluxation, birth trauma, those sort of injuries to the neurospinal system. But what we find is that the neuromotor, the sensory motor system is a mess. We have delayed milestones, poor coordination, hypertonicity, spasms, stimming, weak core strength, delays in crawling, W-sitting, walking, gait issues, incoordination, you name it, their motor system, their tone is a mess. Some areas have too much hypertonicity, and some areas are too weak, hypotonicity. This shows up in gross motor with the developmental gross motor milestones, and it shows up in fine motor with speech, handwriting, eye control, visual, vestibular. All of that is neuromotor. So the three areas to repeat where this energy theft hierarchy shows up in order: gut, immune, motor. And I don't even want you to worry like which one first or which one worst. Typically, when a kiddo is locked into a neurological condition like autism, like ADHD, like pandas, like OCD, all of those systems are a mess, and we've got to get them all back online, efficient through this neurological restoration. And it's nervous system input that heals the gut the most. It's nervous system input that improves respiration, digestion, and immune function. And it's nervous system input done at a neurologically focused chiropractic, deeper, more potent, more foundational level that will allow your child to get more results out of PT, OT, and speech therapy. Because when that child is subluxated, there's a disconnection. There's an obstruction between the tone on the nervous system, the connection, the wiring, to the muscles and to the motor system. So you can try and loosen the wound up tight muscles and they come right back. You can try and strengthen the weak core and the shutdown muscles and they come right back and they weaken out and they fatigue again. So millions of kids are struggling with gut issues, neuroinflammation, immune system issues, and motor delays that could all be addressed so much more foundationally and exponentially if we started with their nervous system first and then layered on and added on the other therapies. The truth is, it's not always the answer to abandon entirely these beneficial therapies, especially motor therapies, nutritional, diet, detoxes, supplements. We're the biggest fans. We work literally, speaking of coordination, connection, hierarchy, our dream scenario, and we do this locally and we do this throughout the world. So these are the people we bring on, to the podcast on the regular. We work on integrated, coordinated, multi-professional, multifaceted healing. but we work in a specific foundational sequence. And so it's not necessarily the answer to just say, throw it all out, we're never doing it again. The answer is to slow down, to speed up, clear room often for those chiropractic adjustments and nervous system focused centered foundational care to do its job. And then what's really cool is we have ways to assess enough neurological healing and restoration of balance, function, and these things to be able to say, hey, now your child's nervous system is getting better. We have momentum and we have what's called stability or slack, resiliency in the system. They now can kickstart again and reboot PT, OT, and speech. So we generally start with the movement-based therapies because it's that neuromotor system that's thrown off first. Now, where a child maybe didn't get anything out of PT, OT, or speech before, just the parents just felt like they were running, up against a brick wall. Now, often after 30 days, 90 days, more severe cases, sometimes 6 months of chiropractic care, now you go back into PT, MNRI, these sort of movement-based therapies, and you get exponentially more effective results. Same with diet changes and detoxes. Not only does so much of the gut get better on its own with adjustments, but now your child is more open to try new foods, to take on tougher to digest foods like protein, healthy fats, and macronutrients. You got to have a neurogastric, high energy, high connection, high efficiency to take on fruits, vegetables, proteins, and healthy fats. The healthiest foods are the hardest to digest. That's why kiddos struggle so much with sensory dietary aversions. It's their sensory nervous system that needs to get fixed first to open that up. So here's the action plan. Turning the corner and putting it in literal order. Phase 1, focus entirely, fully, and sometimes the right move is to focus exclusively on high frequency, what we would call a restoration. If your child's struggling enough with seizures, autism, pandas, chronic challenges, neurologically, we might even call it an intensive protocol of high frequency, really advanced neurologically focused chiropractic care. This is not something a regular chiropractor does. This is not something even a lot of family focused chiropractors do. You know that this is a very advanced, it's important to know that this is a very advanced form of chiropractic that is really within the training of PX docs and PWC practices and places like that. That allows us to address those foundational subluxation patterns and get the nervous system back online. Now, here, when we're making content like this, we got to give you those generalities. 30 days for this kiddo, 90 days for this kiddo, 180 days for that kiddo. When we run a deep dive case history, and most importantly, we do our neurological examination with the inside scans, we know very likely what that time frame is going to be. How many adjustments over what length of time. We're pretty neuropredictive about what it's going to take to reset, restore, and rebuild that foundation. That's phase 1. We don't like to add a lot of or any other interventions at that time, and we might actually take a few of them that are awesome, that are beneficial, that are going to make a comeback, and put them on the shelf and just clear room and clear space for the nervous system to heal first foundationally. Phase 2 is where we start to look at the core 4, or what we call the neuro soft signs. So we're really going to work on sleep. We're going to work on gut and GI function. We're going to work on immune system balance and addressing inflammation. And then really, first out of those 4 in phase 2, like if we went 2A, it's motor function. So this is where we really send you into the movement-based therapies, PT, OT, speech therapy. We love starting there because the gut's actually a muscle. So if you're looking to get gut health back online, you got to get the neuromotor system back online and really get things moving, literally, not pun intended, actually neurologically, neuromuscularly. You got to get things moving before probiotics, enzymes, detoxes, diet changes can do much good. When that neuromotor system is working better, the gut works better. And guess what the respiratory system is? Muscles. Guess what the lymphatic system is? Soft tissues and muscles. So even the immune system relies on motility more than anything else. And so really working on the nervous system, then the motor system. Now you start to see gut and immune system come back online. And phase 3 of this whole plan is when the magic happens. For some kids, that is 6 months. Some tough cases when we're fighting maybe genetic stuff, medication stuff, and severe neurological stuff, it might even take us 12, 18, 24 months to set the foundation through phase 1, start to add in those other incredible interventions and layer them in phase 2, to then get to phase 3, where really, parents, phase 3 isn't anything needed, missing, being added in. Phase 3 is where all of those interventions and where that circuit board and processing and nervous center just starts to finally click. And this is where everything that wasn't working before reaches what we call the breakthrough or the launch point. And this is where your child starts to be able to achieve and heal from those big goals you had. Seizures, speech, behavior, social, emotional behavioral regulation, anxiety, OCD, panic attacks, motor tics, the deeper central autonomic nervous system, brain-based stuff that really is that storm, that dysfunction that's causing those big, nasty, unwanted issues. It's layered in deepest to the nervous system. So we have to be starting with the foundation, sequential, and going through the right paces and phases to be able to get at it. And when I say we get at it, we're not. None of these interventions done individually, whether it's chiropractic or PT or nutritional therapy, none of it done on its own, and none of it done in sequence, in combination, like we taught here on this one. None of it does the healing itself. Your child does that. God designed your kiddo with all the pieces, the parts, the wiring. Now we know there's some genetic conditions. We know there's some certain injuries that leave the body anatomically, physiologically, genetically in a certain place, but we still go for it. We still believe and know entirely on the body's ability to heal. Not just a little bit, a lot of it. Every kiddo has a different length of time, a different sequence, different phases, when we're going to add this one and then that one. This is as detailed and as granular and sequential and scientific and real life and common sense as I could get as I teach this stuff to you on this one. But it gets even better when your PX doc breaks down your child's specific sequence, their specific care plan and action plan. And it's your child and it's you. They're never giving up. We will do less if that's what it takes. We'll fix the foundation first and layer on the other stuff later if that's what it takes. It's you and your kiddo who are the heroes. We are just the catalyst. We just get to coach and guide and partner and adjust. And if it's me taking care of your kiddo, there's not only a lot of nerdy scientific conversations and analogies and metaphors, there's a lot of farmer stories, there's a lot of dad jokes. All of this is the mix together of awesome, I do think those last two really work, healing interventions that create what we're looking for. The big breakthroughs and the big changes and the big miracles. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of prioritization and sequencing to be able to get this to happen. And let me actually just double tap on the one that even I, as a provider, I can tell you unequivocally, I despise the most. That P word I used a little bit ago, patience. It's not going to come natural to any of us. It's not going to come natural to you as a parent. It's not going to come natural to me as a provider. It's not going to come natural to any other provider. In fact, I promise you this, if you do send this out to a lot of the providers that are maybe on your kiddo's team, I think a lot of them might just dismiss it offhand, surface level, pun intended there, and not really dive deep into this conversation because it doesn't feel right. It didn't feel right to me. In the early stages of our practice, we were the epitome. We were the purveyors of healing interventions overload. Should have called my practice HIO chiropractic. That's kind of crazy because actually there was an old chiropractic technique that was called HIO. So crazy that that acronym shows up in that way. But you've got what you needed to learn with this one. I know it's transformative. I know it may sound counter to, again, not only our default settings, but kind of what's taught and put forth most everywhere else out there. But every open-minded, hey, whatever it takes to get the best results for my kiddo parent I've ever taught this stuff to, I almost have to adjust their neck because it gets subluxated and out of alignment because they're head nodding so hard. Same with other providers. Sometimes with other providers, because we're all trained, like I've said multiple times, in the opposite, sometimes we got to go through this conversation 2 or 3 times to get other providers, even other chiropractors, to really see the forest through the trees on this one. But man, when you can, and then you change the action plan to, most often nowadays, if this one really landed with you, well, then the best next step is to take steps out, is to slow things down, do less, not more. Start with neurologically focused chiropractic, work on that foundation. If you're already under care, give it time. Give it that time to really reset, repair, and fix the foundation. That's the hard work. That's the deep work. Kids are still growing. They still get sick. There's a lot of things that'll try and throw us off, that will throw us off when we're doing it, right? And create that sort of 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. That's how healing works. We wish it were faster. We wish it were easier. We wish it were smoother. And we wish it were simpler. But actually, this stuff is pretty simple. It's hard to do, but it's effective to do it this way. And if you need help navigating that, talk to us. If you need help, talk to your docs, right? The toughest thing to figure out is, hey, are we balanced? Are we regulated? Are we stable? Then we can add things to it. We figured that out through our insight scans and through the neurosoft signs. We know when to drop those green flags, pull those things off the shelf and put them back in play that maybe we pulled back on, or add new things that haven't been put in play yet and go, hey, we can expect these to work better again. I can talk about this one all day, every day, because I feel like out of all the conversations and all the content we can make for the world and the community of chronically sick kids and parents who are doing literally everything they can all at once, I don't know of a more important conversation. So if you could please be sure to send us a comment or a DM or hit our link in bio, wherever you end up getting access to this one. You got questions, you need help here, reach out. The second ask, please absolutely share this one with another family or group of families that are stuck in this same healing interventions overload cycle, and get this one out to them. Parents, providers, if you know somebody who needs to hear this, please take the time to copy the link with wherever you're watching this. Send them a text, send them a DM, send them a carrier pigeon or a singing telegram with this on a QR code. I don't know how that would work, but get this content to them. And there's a sequence and there's a system to healing and experiencing miracles. And that's why we talk about it, teach about it, and we get to be about it in practice all day, every day. And we can't wait to be alongside you, your beautiful, brilliant, designed and ready to heal child, and your incredible family. God bless you. Be well. We'll see you on the next one.